AI, and what we do, we can obtain emotions from human speech and analyze them. I'll start from the very beginning. The speech, as we know it, is actually a fascinating phenomenon. This is a borderline that differs us humans from any other primates. There's a lot of research on that, but most of scientists agree that the part of the brain, which is called neocortex, which is incredibly involved and developed in human species, is developed in Homo sapiens and it's involved in the process of the linguistic features formation. It was even proven that neocortical activity tracks the hierarchical linguistic structures of self-produced speech during reading aloud, pointing out the connection between the ability to formalize the information in the way we know it as language and speech and the biological counterpart. But what is interesting here is that another signal system, which is almost subconsciously expressing itself, was developed much earlier. And this system is in charge of emotional expression and recognition. You can notice that yourself. Newborns can understand emotions and intonation much earlier than they connect an acoustic representation of the word with its meaning. And if you're sad or happy, most likely a person that doesn't speak your language will understand that from your voice. And the ability to perceive the emotional message from your speech was developed a long time before the speech emerged. From the time immemorial, humanity not only tends to express emotions, but also needs to recognize emotions of others, which is extremely important for us as species. And empathy and compassion are two most important bricks that led us to establish the basics of social norms and morality. And the need of capturing these rules that keep society connected, organized, growing, and prospering was one of the reasons why language and speech were so important, and of course inevitable to be created someday. But what is language without emotions? Emotions are these meta messages that used to reinforce the original message, and sometimes the meaning that is hidden below is much more powerful than the original message itself. This is what sarcasm and irony are. Another great example is passive aggression, when the meaning of your intonation makes much more impact. And we need to express emotions because otherwise our limbic system may cause conflicts with other biological systems, even the brain itself, and leading not only to health problems but also to dangerous situations. Emotions increase the likelihood that person will take an action, and the need to act according to emotional response is also wired deeply in our brains. Understanding of how we are led by our emotions and what most likely the person will do in certain situations affected by certain emotions is the key to deeper understanding of other people. But how does it apply to our daily life now? Here's an interesting fact. People also tend to personify inanimate objects and phenomena. In the matter of fact that this behavior also caused by emotional responses, and you can observe it from ancient times when people, primarily because of fear or astonishment of natural events, caused the creation of ancient myths and legends, to nowadays when you're cursing your car or washing machine because it doesn't work as you expect it to work sometimes. Um, it was inevitable to prove that this kind of behavioral traits have deep roots in our brain circuit development. And what is the most fascinating fact about that is that emotional response from another side is the tiny part of the jigsaw, which is responsible for trust and affection. People establish relationships based on mutual empathy, and it is impossible without these qualities. Until recent years, it was impossible to raise two-sided empathic connection and emotional awareness while interacting with inanimate objects. Interpretation of emotions, these meta messages from voice, is a skill that was developed 1,000 of years. And for human machine communication, this is a monumental task. But now, things have drastically changed, and inanimate objects are going to simulate emotional response very soon. So let's give it a try and imagine the possibilities of application of natural emotion understanding. These applications are countless. I would like to share those that I personally believe in. I'll start from something that is lying on the surface. One of the most beneficial application of natural emotion understanding is application of that in the devices that we're interacting daily. Like voice user interfaces, Alexa and Siri are good examples of that, and smartphones with IoT and vehicles. The benefit of integration of natural emotion understanding to this kind of systems will be a game changer to the quality of people's life. Just think about the products that can actually predict your behavior based on your voice and even raise your own personal awareness about your mental and emotional state and help you. Fun fact, around 92% of people think that they aware of their feelings. How do they feel? What kind of emotions do they feel? But actually, only around 12% do. So, for example, if you tend to ask Alexa to order a pizza when you're sad, and you tend to do this frequently, this might be a flag that you might experience some mental issues, and there is a chance that you might to start seeking a help from professional immediately. But it's applicable not only to human to machine interfaces, and that can be addressed to human and human interaction. Continuing talking about healthcare, a good application of natural emotions understanding is a tool for people with autism spectrum. It is known that people who are on autism spectrum experiencing difficulties when interpreting and reading other people's emotions. And one of the reasons is that these people are avoiding eye contact. And avoiding eye contact actually eliminates their ability to recognize facial emotion expressions from the accessible toolset. And they only have to interpret emotions from voice. But for neurodivergent people, it takes a lot of effort to do it constantly. So the application of this kind of technology can actually help people to be connected with the community, to integrate in the community, to build a conversation, to feel themselves connected, which is actually their one of the biggest desires as claimed by people. But what about EdTech and FinTech? The capability to catch an insight from the student's voice can be helpful to measure their engagement. And regular emotional checkup can help an online trader to avoid impulsive decisions that may lead to dissatisfaction results. Or maybe VR. In Metaverse, your avatar is being managed by the voice, and an opportunity to transfer emotions from voice to the avatar's facial expression in a more precise manner might help people to build a better virtual community, which is on the rising now. Or maybe your emotional state might terra or even metaphor this virtual environment, linking that with your own mood. At Descriptor.AI, we developed an algorithm which allows us to obtain emotions from speech with the accuracy of up to 97%. We're going to test our hypothesis in live mode, launching our product in call center, providing sales, revenue, and support teams a tool that can help to bridge the gap not only between virtual voice assistants, such as generated auto response, and real people, but also between us, humans. When talking about an experience of seeking some help from the skilled professionals, when we're been talking to support teams, for example, or being convinced to do something, sales and revenue teams do it. We expect empathy, and remember, this is the thing that builds trust. And successful conversation implies a closure, which is impossible without trust. I assume you're wondering how did we obtain these results? It was writing pieces, but I will try to be short here. Voice is a magnificent source of information. Over the last years, it has become understandable that using the easiest way of communicating with our voice might be the best way to establish any kind of connection, not only between humans, but also between human and machine. And the complexity of achieving worthy results arise from different physiological parameters, such as the parameters of human voice itself to environmental. Eliminating some noise during the audio stream processing is a good example. We have been working on Empath, our product that actually can help other people to be emotionally aware about their emotional state, providing insights to both participants of the conversations. We analyze speech formants and acoustic features derived from the sound representation. And for those who are new to acoustics, formants is a concentration of acoustic energy around the particular frequency in the speech wave after the classical transform. But before doing any kind of analysis, it is necessary to choose proper acoustic features. As you can see here on the slide, we have distinguished our solution between others. And with the application of speech and motion recognition combined with automated speech recognition and emotional analysis, we can achieve much better results than other companies probably who providing some emotional analysis, because we focused on the voice and not on the text only. Regarding the process, as usual when we're talking about data science, we are starting from choosing features that we will be using to train a neural network. It's necessary to choose proper acoustic features. And the feature preprocessing, which is extremely important while working with speech analytics, is one of the most important part of the data preparation. And a good practice is to start from spectrograms that can be obtained from the sound wave after the classical transform. Also, we make use of the latest technologies such as clear data sets, TensorFlow for the data manipulation, and neural models from NVIDIA for automated speech recognition. After that, the most important part is choosing a neural network architecture. And here, it was actually pretty fun because we were thinking that if we're dealing with the classification task of definition and distinction between emotions, we need to deal with the sequence analysis, and it should be some kind of recurring neural network architecture. But actually, we came up with the idea that we need to use the ensemble of models as the combination of CNNs and RNNs to pay attention, pun intended, to the contextual and emotional layer of the speech. And the most fascinating thing about that is this kind of approach allows us to map hidden features of the emotional context to the real speech, meaning that if you're speaking in the same mood, in the same phrases, but with different speed, we can detect the correct emotions in both cases. But mapping emotions to the timestamps is not enough for building a product. So that's why we're using automated speech recognition to obtain a transcript of the conversation. Also, we make use of speaker periodization to understand who spoke when. And having all this information all together, we can even generate the conversation summary in a human-like written style. This is how it looks like. So here it's a mock-up call with the support team that is being transcribed and labeled with the emotions connected to the time steps. And also there is a summary which was absolutely generated by Playtika. And this is the moment where the person was excluded from the loop. And our future goals are the following. I personally believe that working with people in the first place, we can validate the emotional impact that was taught in each conversation, and we can analyze what emotion led to a specific decision during the conversation. And the next step will be remaining pretty ambitious. Um, we want to be capable of contributing to the future with all three up. We want to help to build that kind of system that will be capturing our mood and simulating an emotional response pretty accurately. And nothing but empathic AI. In simple words, it will be not only a virtual assistant, but a virtual friend. Natural emotion understanding is inevitable. For years, we have been facing with the task of the automation of our routine tasks. And read emotions is something that we, as people, do daily. And exception is on the medical condition, and the technology can also help here. And it was briefly mentioned above. And industry will be developing more and more advanced emotional models. Thank you.